Folks, you're going to hear a lot of agreement tonight. All 6 of us are great people and progressive Democrats. All 6 of us would vote the right way on pretty much everything that the legislature tends to consider. Here's the difference. I will change what the legislature considers. Business as usual in the legislature means ignoring the bolder system-level legislation that we desperately need, especially on climate change and education. Amherst is the youngest town in Massachusetts, and being young, I have an abundance of energy and passion. This position is not only about voting the right way. It is not about incremental change. It is not about balance. It's about getting things done. We need to pass the Fair Share Amendment, the millionaire's tax. We also need to have a broader conversation about how we do taxes in this state. One of the things that I've been proposing for education funding is reducing property taxes and increasing the income tax. Property taxes are very regressive. Half of Amherst's land pays no property tax because it's colleges. Poor communities across the state can't fund schools with property taxes because they don't have a property tax base. We need to have a broader conversation of funding all our schools much more fully from the state budget. But we need to have the big system level conversation about how we do taxes, about how we can create more economic activity so we have more of a commercial tax base. I want to do that in this area, especially through clean energy technology, which is the kind of economic development we can all get behind with excitement. We need to integrate our agricultural, retail, educational, and economic systems to eliminate food deserts, to give everyone access to affordable, healthy food. One of the big things is prescription drug costs. These are manipulated by drug companies, and they're completely out of hand. This is another case where single-payer system is a system-level reform that would take care. In terms of the state economy and the implications for policy, another thing is we can attract more young people. We have so many young people who come to school here, and then they all move out to Boston and they move out of the state because we don't have affordable housing in this area and we don't have jobs. One of the things at the sort of root place that we need to talk about is sex ed. We need to have much more comprehensive sex ed curriculums in our school. Those need to include inclusivity of all genders and sexualities. They need to include better access to contraception. And we need to be changing the economic and educational systems so that fewer people are in a place where they have to be making tough decisions about reproductive rights. Other piece is that we need better mental health care. And this ties in with many people who are chronically homeless are also struggling with mental health, possibly with addiction. And one of the things that I want to do is create a statewide commission on mental health care and how we can do it right across the state, across an entire lifetime. Another thing, I don't want to have this conversation as if we want everyone to fit into an existing sort of Massachusetts melting pot. Let's take advantage of the diversity people bring. We need more people of color in our schools, including in this district. We need more people of color teaching in our schools, and we need to have diversity, social justice, and inclusion training for every teacher and every administrator in the state. This is something that I would be pushing in my first year in the legislature. That's something that happens for some teachers. It happens a little bit, but it does not happen statewide and not nearly to the extent we need. Charter schools can be a productive part. Some charter schools around here are great, like PVPA, the Chinese Immersion School, serve specific roles in the community. The problem is the funding, and this gets back to we need to restructure how we fund schools. We need to reduce property taxes, increase income taxes, have all schools funded by the state, but in the shorter term, we definitely need charter schools to not take any money from district schools. Our state government is moving too slowly to deal with the crucial issues facing our communities. Speaking of changing what the government is considering, we have not really talked at all here about the greatest issue facing my generation and all of our children and grandchildren, global warming. Climate change threatens our Massachusetts economy, it threatens our funding for our schools, and it threatens our future. As a community, we need to fulfill our responsibility to the next generations by making climate change and education our top priorities and acting with much more energy than the legislature does now. Business as usual in the legislature is not giving our educators the independence and the funding they need. It's not solving climate change or creating the thousands of clean energy jobs we could be creating. My name is Solomon Goldstein-Rose. I grew up in Amherst, attended our public schools, served on the school committee, and am ready to move forward system-changing bills as I have already done in legislatures. 18 to 29-year-olds are 20% of the Massachusetts population and 2% of the legislature. We are one of the most underrepresented groups you could imagine. Please check out solomonforrep.org and join this movement and vote for me on September 8th. Together we can create real change.